Welcome and thank you for joining me for the very first episode of the Delta Shamanic podcast. This is where I begin the journey, a journey into vibration, into consciousness, into the very architecture of reality. And today we begin with something that is simple yet staggering. Cymatics. The science of seeing sound, the art of watching vibration shape matter into form. This single idea is one of the most powerful bridges between the scientific, the spiritual, the ancient and the modern. And for me, it became the spark that ignited an entire theory of what consciousness is and what reality might be. I want to start today with a quiet image. Imagine you are standing in the middle of Stonehenge. You breathe in, you speak, you hum, you drum, and the sound changes. It doesn't echo normally, it bends, it warps, it lingers, it amplifies, it deepens. This isn't imagination, it isn't myth, it isn't speculation. It's been measured. Archaeologists and acousticians from universities across Europe stood inside Stonehenge and recorded a clear, structured resonance in the inner space. A frequency amplification that suggests the structure wasn't just symbolic. It was acoustic, energetic, vibrational. A kind of technology, a resonant chamber that interacts with sound, light and the earth itself. And it wasn't just Stonehenge. In stone circles across Britain, in Newgrange in Ireland, in Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, in the Hypogeum in Malta, in Mayan temples, in Andean temples, in Japanese stone rings, the same thing appears again and again. Certain frequencies become stronger in the centre. Some frequencies disappear. Others are enhanced as if the stone itself is vibrating with you. Like a tuning fork built out of the land, this phenomenon is called acoustic archaeology. Researchers like Robert Till, Aaron Watson and Stephen Waller have shown that ancient structures were not just visually aligned, but acoustically aligned. They capture the resonance of the earth. They shape sound into standing waves. They focus vibration into the human body and human consciousness. And this is where my own curiosity began to erupt. Because when you map ancient structures across continents, a strange pattern appears. Their placement, their geometry, their alignment sometimes resembles a kind of circuitry. A network, a grid, a planetary circuit board, if you will, as if the Earth is not just a planet but a kind of living instrument, a resident Mother Earth, a mother board. And humans were interacting with it through sound frequency and ritual. This idea first struck me not as fantasy, but as a metaphor with real scientific teeth. Because if sound can shape matter, then maybe these structures were built to shape sound, so sound could shape consciousness. And that's where cymatics enters the picture. Cymatics is one of the most beautiful scientific demonstrations ever discovered. Take a plate of metal, sprinkle sand across it, run a frequency through it. Suddenly the sand moves. It dances, it jumps, it shivers. And then it settles into structure. Into geometry, into perfect shapes, into lines and circles and spirals and webs, as if sound is revealing its own signature through matter. This process was first demonstrated by Ernst Chladni in the 1700s. Later in the 1960s, Hans Jenny took it further. He used powders, liquids, pastes and different vibration types to produce patterns that look exactly like snowflakes, mandalas, solar systems, cells, flowers, neural networks, and even cultural symbols long predating science. And here's the pattern. Low frequency creates simple structure. Higher frequency creates more complex structure. Increase the vibration, increase the complexity. This is where I started thinking about consciousness. Because what is consciousness, if not complex structure within vibrating matter? The brain is a vibrational organ, electric waves, chemical oscillations, neural rhythms. And when we're awake, our brain vibrates fast. When we dream, it vibrates differently. When we're in deep meditation, it vibrates slowly, but more coherently. Our entire experience of reality is shaped by vibrational patterns inside matter, inside the skull. So when I look at cymatics, I see not just sound making pretty shapes, I see the possible origin of consciousness. Matter vibrated into structure, structure storing information, information reorganizing into complexity, complexity becoming aware of itself. Consciousness as vibration meeting matter. A partnership, a loop, a cycle. Now here's where things get deeper. There is a physicist named Federico Fagin. He helped design the first microprocessors. He helped develop touchscreen technology. He worked on early AI systems. And later in life he reached a radical conclusion. That consciousness is fundamental, not a product of brain matter, not an illusion generated by neurons, but the underlying field beneath everything. He argues that the quantum field is consciousness itself, and that matter is simply the medium through which consciousness expresses itself, organises itself, and experiences itself. This aligns shockingly well with what we see in cymatics, because if consciousness is vibration, and vibration shapes matter, then matter becomes the stage on which consciousness learns, evolves, and awakens. Let's go deeper still. Quantum physics tells us that before observation, particles exist as probabilities, waves of possibility. They become real when observed. This is called the collapse of the wave function. Penrose, Hameroff, Bohm, and many others have explored this mystery. But what if the observer is not the human brain, but consciousness itself? The field, the vibration, the foundational awareness embedded in the universe? In this model, matter is shaped by observation because observation is vibration, organising potential into form. This sounds mystical, but it might be physics. If consciousness collapses probability, then consciousness is the fundamental frequency, and everything else is cymatics on a cosmic scale. Now let me bring this back to ancient structures. If sound shapes matter into structure, and structure shapes sound in return, then building a stone circle or a temple is not just architecture. It is tuning the environment, tuning the earth, tuning the human mind. Music, ritual, chant, drumming would interact with the stones, which interacted with the earth, which interacted with the people. This is not pseudoscience. This is acoustic engineering, thousands of years before microphones or software or physics textbooks. And the people who built them were not primitive. They were sensitive to the vibrational field, intuitive physicists, embodied mathematicians, human tuning forks interacting with the Earth's signal. We lost this knowledge because we prioritised the visible over the audible, the measurable over the experiential. But cymatics brings this knowledge back. Now I'll share something personal. For much of my life I've had unusual states of perception, visions, voices, moments of clarity and confusion and insight all blurred together. For years I viewed them through psychological lenses or spiritual lenses, depending on the moment. But when I discovered cymatics, something clicked. If vibration can shape matter, then consciousness is not limited to the brain. It is a field, a continuum, a presence that vibrates matter into self-awareness. And altered states might be moments where the frequency changes, where the tuning shifts, where you perceive different layers of the vibrational field. I don't claim that this explains everything, but it offered me a way to hold my experiences with less fear and more curiosity, and that changed everything. So let me offer you my current theory. It is still forming, still evolving, still vibrating into clarity. But here it is in its most distilled form. Consciousness is a vibrational field. Matter is embedded within that field. When the field vibrates, matter entropies, breaks apart and reorganizes into structure. Structure becomes information. Information becomes complexity. Complexity becomes awareness. Awareness becomes consciousness, looking at itself through the lens of matter. Life is consciousness, learning itself from the inside. The universe is a cymatic pattern of the cosmic field, and ancient temples were human attempts to attune ourselves to that field. When you speak inside a stone circle, you might be hearing not just your voice, but the voice of the earth, the voice of consciousness, the voice of vibration reflecting back at you. In this podcast, I will explore every layer of this idea, from ancient acoustics to quantum mechanics, from shamanic states to holographic physics, from vibration to matter to mind to meaning. This is not dogma, not ideology, not a religion. It is an exploration, a questioning, a journey into resonance, and I invite you to walk with me as we try to understand the architecture of consciousness and the song of the universe that shapes everything we are. I'm Schizo Delta Man. This is Delta Shamanic. Thank you for listening.
And now for something completely different. Music, Professor.